Hello everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel of InitPals. I am Ashok Raja. In this video, I'll explain you how to install Linux in an VirtualBox environment. These installation steps are prerequisites for the Linux bootcamp sessions that I am conducting in InitPals Meetup. Don't worry, even if you haven't installed VirtualBox, I'll start with installing VirtualBox in a Windows desktop environment and then I'll install Ubuntu Linux on that virtual environment. Okay. Let's move on to the Windows desktop environment. So now we are in the Windows 10 environment. Let me start with the downloading and installing VirtualBox. So this is the download URL for VirtualBox. Let me start downloading it. Since I am in the Windows environment, I'm just downloading the Windows host application and it have got downloaded. Let me start by installing it. Okay, I'll leave it to the default option. Next, install. Okay, so let it install. In the meantime, we can start installing or downloading the. Okay, so it have got installed. Okay, so let's download the Linux ISO. This is the URL to download the Linux Ubuntu Linux server. And let me navigate to this particular URL. And select for option 3. That's the option that allow you to download the ISO file. I'm just clicking the download Ubuntu server. It may take a bit of time to download. It is 914 MB. So let it download. In the meantime, let's do some basic configuration in the VirtualBox and we can come back here. Okay. Say the virtual machine should be stored in a location where say in the default machine folder, so you can change those folder. Say if you wanted to save the files in a different drive, let's say for me let me save it in a different drive called as say VMs, and I'll select that folder. Okay, and let me start creating a new virtual machine, and I'll save it as create it as an Ubuntu SRV. Okay, so it have changed to Ubuntu 64-bit. Just in case if it haven't changed, ensure that you are selecting Ubuntu 64-bit. And next, so by default it is assigning 1 GB of RAM. Let me assign it to assign 2 GB of RAM to this one. So even in 1 GB that would be fine for our exercise. But since I have got 32 GB RAM in this machine, I'm just allocating 2 GB to this VM. Next, I'll leave it to the 10 GB size and leave it to VDI, and I'll also leave it to the dynamically allocated. So with this option, that space would be consumed only at the time when the VM is loaded. Say till the time only the file that is being occupying or the installed within that VM would be the space that would be occupied by that virtual machine. Okay, I'll leave it to 10 GB. Okay, now the base skeleton is ready. So let me start. Okay, okay. So we may have to provide the ISO file to install. I'm just selecting this particular ISO. select choose, start. Okay, it will take a bit of time for the installation. So, Ubuntu 18 installs much quicker, but Ubuntu 20 takes a bit of time to install. Okay, okay, okay. So let me select English as the default language. Looks like there is an alternative installer is available. Let me see what I choose if I choose update to the newer installer. Okay. Okay. So the installer is downloading. Okay. Done. Done. Say I'll go with the default network, the option. There's no proxy access needed. Done. You just select enter and you can keep going. Done. So it is asking for how to allocate the disk. I'll go for the full allocation. So press tab, 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 and now it is in the highlighted. The done is highlighted. Select done. Keep going. Done. Press tab and select continue. Enter. Okay. Now you can provide the username for your service. Say I'll give the name as LNX USR and the server name as LNX say SRV, and I'll provide the username as LNX USR itself. Password, let me provide an password. Okay, tab, enter. Okay, so you can select install open SSH server if you wanted to connect your server through say the SSH keys. Okay, I'll leave it as it for the as is for the time being, but we can come back and install OpenSSH server if we wanted to connect our server through SSH keys. But at least for this particular the bootcamp or the initial sessions of the bootcamp, that would be more than enough to log in with the username and password. Let me select done, and I'm not selecting any default application to be installed as a part of this installation. Let me click done. Say it may take a bit of time to install. Say I'll pause the video and we'll come back once the installation is done. Okay, so this is the last step in the installation of Linux. So either you can cancel the update and reboot, or you can wait for the updates to get installed and you can wait for the system to reboot. Okay, so let me try to cancel the update and reboot, but whatever it is, it would take at least a couple of minutes to cancel and start installing. Okay, so luckily it have got cancelled immediately. That's good. Fine. Say what I have to do is if the uh, drive or the ISO is still mounted, then you may have to unmount it. Say, looks like it is already unmounted. So let me press enter and it will try to restart the VM. I think I have to scale, I believe, so that the font size will increase, I believe. Okay, okay. So I just pressed enter. Now let me provide my username. It's lnx user and the password. Okay, now all set. Now I am inside the Linux environment, um, the initial the screen. Okay, okay. So let me shut down and connect it from my host machine. Okay, to shut down, you can ask the command shutdown hyphen. No, sorry, there is no hyphen. Just shut down now. Okay, now all set. Now, let's make some changes to the network of this particular virtual machine. Select the settings, and in the system, okay, you can also make changes to say the allocation of the RAM or the processor. I'll just increase the processor count to 2, and let me leave it to the default 2 GB itself. And in the network section, by default, the NAT network would be selected. Instead of that, I'll change it to the bridge adapter, and I'll also create another one adapter by enabling the second network adapter. And this time, I would choose, say, host only adapter. Okay. So with that, you will be having two network adapters associated. So the bridge adapter is necessary to get the network access from the internet access from the host, and this host only adapter will help you to get an IP assigned say by your router or your host machine, depending on how you have configured your environment. So in my situation, the router will assign an IP for this particular virtual machine. Okay, click OK. Okay, say just in case if you haven't or if you are not able to see the host only adapter, the option for the host only adapter, you may have to make some changes to your environment. Select the host network manager and ensure that okay there is an entry available over there. Say if this particular entry is not available, you can click create, and say you can say change it to configure manually or the automatically, and this would provide you with an option to select the network adapter. Okay, for the time being I'll just remove it. Okay, closing it. Okay, let me connect it from the local environment or from the host machine. To connect the virtual machine from the host, particularly in Windows environment, you need an tool called as putty. You can download it from this particular URL, putty.org. Say that is not the original site. Say from here, it will lead to the actual download site. Download the 64-bit version of putty. Click that link. So it doesn't require any download, sorry, installation. You can just straight away run it. So if that's the case, then downloads folder may not be the right location to have putty. You can move it to a different location to C drive or some other say the portable apps location that you have in your machine to place this particular exe. Okay, so now we need the IP address of your Linux environment to connect. Say moreover, our Linux environment is not running at this point in time. So since we have made changes to our network environment, let me click the start button to start the Linux server. Okay, so it's loading. Okay, all set. lnx-usr and the password. Okay, let me check the IP address. So say right now it's based on the initial the configuration. So it looks like the initial information what it is showing. The IP address is 10.10.30.3. Let's check whether it's the right address or not. IP space A, it will list out the IP address. So the IP address is same set. It's not 10 dot. Okay, so probably that's an host machine's IP address, I believe. No, so it's the client IP address only 10.10.30.3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seventh line from the bottom, or otherwise I'll just filter out those data. Okay, so third line from bottom is what our IP address is. Okay, so let me minimize this window and go back to the host machine, and I'll open up the putty. So my IP address is 10.10.30.3. You can save it for the future use by providing a name. I'll just provide as an lnx srv and save, so that it would be saved in this name. Let me click open. Okay, so the connection refused. I may have to see why the connection is refused. Let's ping whether this IP is accessible outside or not. Okay, so we haven't enabled SSH server at the time of the installation. We may have to install the SSH, the server. Let me sudo open SSH crv apt install. Okay, do yes. Okay, so if you have enabled the SSH the server at the time of the installation, this step is not required. Let me go back to my host environment. Let me double click. Okay, now it's trying to establish a connection with my Linux environment. Select yes as the option. Provide the username lnx-usr and provide the password. Now we are all set. Okay, now we are able to connect it from the host machine. Okay, say with that the installation part is completed. Say this would be sufficient to continue with the subsequent sessions in our Linux bootcamp session that I am taking in InitPals Meetup group. Thank you, everyone.